Good to see you. Good to see you. How's it going, everybody? Real good, real good.
It's not the end of the world.
I'd like to ask all who are able to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to welcome all to this evening's regular board meeting of the Lakeview Public Schools Board of Education. Today, Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, at the boardroom at the Wheat Educational Campus. Moving on with the agenda, the minutes of the regular meeting of November 11, 2025.
Mr. President, I move to approve the minutes.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Madam Secretary, have we any public communication this evening?
Mr. President, we do. We welcome Michael Way.
Sure.
I'd like to read about public communication. The Board of Education provides for public communication on their agenda so the members of the community may come and make a statement to the board. Statements to the board can be on any school district topic and should be no more than 3 minutes in length. Public communication is not a question and answer session. Individual board members generally will not respond to comments provided during public communication. As board secretary, I will keep time and try to warn you when you have 10 seconds left out of the 3 minutes. Thank you for signing up this evening.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Michael Way, and I am the parent of 2 Lakeview children. One graduate of the EA Squared program at Princeton and is now at Jefferson Middle School. The other is currently in 4th grade in the EA Squared program at Princeton. I am here tonight to express my frustration and disappointment in the lack of a Science Olympiad program at both the middle and high schools. I can't tell you how disappointed my son was when he found out, after participating in Princeton Science Olympiad team, that he would not be able to do it again at Jefferson Middle School due to the lack of school support for the team. For those of you who don't know, and I know there are some of you who do, Science Olympiad is a team sport, and I highly recommend that you look into it on the Macomb County Science Olympiad website. Science Olympiad is ran by the Macomb Community College with more than 200 volunteers to support the competitions. Macomb County has one of the oldest programs in the country and is one of only a few in the country with an elementary division, of which Princeton participates in. It is sponsored by the likes of General Motors, BAE, and the Detroit Zoological Society. 19 middle schools in Macomb County participate, including Southlake, Shelby, Romeo, L'Anse Creuse, and Marysville. 15 high schools in the county participate, including Eisenhower, Dakota, Chippewa Valley, and Stevenson. There are a couple issues that I can see. One, funding. We need $350 to cover the registration fee. At the same meeting that Mrs. Panorwood asked for support for a Science Olympiad program back in October, this board approved payments in excess of $131,000 to support various coaches, assistants, and teachers who run extracurricular programs at Lakeview. No doubt they're all overworked and underpaid. We're asking for $350 to cover the registration fee. That's all we basically got at Princeton. The rest is all done with volunteers. We may need a little more than the registration fee, especially in the first year for supplies. I know the children and their parents from the Princeton program is more than willing to support a Science Olympiad program with both time and money. I personally offer to supply the registration fee, but it does require buy-in from the district. We need help with communications to get the word out about a team that has not existed for over 6 years. We could do this with just the Princeton contacts that we have, but we really wanted to get the rest of the middle school involved. If communications this year had been better back in September with Mrs. Panorwood, we could have known that there was no money for clubs, and we could have fundraised and had the team this year. We only just recently found out that there is no money for the club, and it is now too late. I do urge this board to communicate to both Jefferson Middle School and the high school administration staff to support parent volunteers who want to run and support a new Science Olympiad program for Lakeview. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other public communication? All set? Great. Thank you. All right, moving on to Board of Education Administration comments. Here's hoping everybody had a restful Thanksgiving break. As this is our last meeting before the Christmas holidays and the New Year, I'd like to just wish everybody a happy or Merry Christmas, a happy we went through that one already. Happy New Year. We have a lot to be thankful for this past year, and hopefully 2026 will bring us, equal opportunities or more. It's been a great year at this point, so, everybody have a great time with family, friends, and enjoy the time. One quick comment regarding the Science Olympiad. I was involved in the Science Olympiad as well as many of these parents here at the elementary buildings going back some years. It does require volunteers. And candidly, we do have a lot of volunteers for a lot of the functions throughout the district. But for whatever reason, this does not get the attention that we believe it should get. But if there is no support for it, you can't do anything with it because like many other opportunities we have, if you don't have support, it's going to fall flat. If people were to approach the school buildings with their ideas, I'm sure that the administrations at the middle school and high school would be more than willing to help out and get the message out. But without any activity coming from the bottom up, it's going to be like it is. There's been not enough interest is what the perception is. So if there is interest, I suggest that people approach, as I mentioned back in October, approach the building administrators for their support. And I'm confident that you'll get the support you need to make things happen. So, I look forward to hearing from our administrators at the point in time through our superintendent that they've had contact from parents that are interested in getting engaged. with this valuable opportunity. So that's all I have at this point. Any other comments from the board?
I saw that Pat Threet got nominated, or he actually received the accolade with respect to his leadership for our football team. I had the opportunity of having him as a coach for one of my kids, and he is just an amazing soul. He's totally deserving of it. I'm glad that somebody reached out to us here, because as they said in the email, he's not one to say, hey, I got this accolade, can you bring it to anyone's attention. I just on a small note, he actually reached out to me last week just to see how my kid was doing. So that's how awesome of a person he is, and well done to Pat Threet.
Yeah, he's done wonders with the football program here at Lakeview. You know, we were just an average program for many, many years, and over the last few years, he's definitely kicked it up a notch. You know, you obviously get what you get with as far as the talent goes, but he's able to turn talent into better talent, which is a good thing. And the kids are, motivated by being part of a team, and that motivates kids. So he's able to get the motivation out there, which is awesome. And they had a great year this year, the best year in the program history, winning the districts. Unfortunately, they fell to Birmingham Groves in the quarterfinals. So, a great year for the program.
Just to clarify, that was Regional Coach of the Year voted on by his peers.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
For clarity. All right. Any other comments? Administration?
I would echo your thoughts about the holidays. We have many activities going, and I won't steal any of our board reps' thunder here, because she's going to have a long list, I know, of things that are on her report. But I think that it's beneficial, and we have a big group down in the other end of the building doing no-sew blankets, because they're going to give them out to the community members that need them. And, those are the types of activities that we support and sponsor and are happy to provide a space for. That particular group's the Optimist Club of St. Clair Shores, and they've been doing it in our wheat gym for probably 5 years, 2 nights in the fall like this. And those are just one example of the many things that occur as we go through this season. Adopting families for Thanksgiving dinners at every building, adopting families for gifts at every building at Christmas. And, that's just a proud thing to be part of in an ancillary way, if you will, because the volunteers that are at those buildings and organizing that with our staff are part of how that all happens, and people's donations and all the like. So kudos to the groups that are jumping on that and taking care of business. Anything else?
Any other comments? None? Okay. Student Representative Report. Ms. Rexroad, good evening.
Princeton hopes that everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and they are looking forward to the Christmas holiday coming up here in a few weeks. This Friday is their annual PTO Perry's Emporium, which is a local craft fair that will be open from 3:30 to 7:30 p.m. Feel free to stop by and see some unique gifts and treats. Princeton is excited about their new curriculum that has been implemented and the intervention supports that have been put into place. As you will see in Dr. Wood's presentation this evening, Princeton is trending up, and they are very proud of everyone's hard work. Between Mrs. Daniels' work in Student Council and Mrs. Schock's office, Princeton is sponsoring several families this Christmas for food and or gifts. They are grateful to the community for their continued time and support. Lastly, Princeton hopes that everyone has a happy and healthy holiday with their family. They had a lot to be grateful for at Greenwood during the month of November. First and fifth grade students participated in a float parade by building balloon characters with their buddies, and fourth grade students created a digital Thanksgiving parade by designing floats and putting together a stop-motion animation video parade. Throughout the building, they put a focus on answering questions on IXL, and students answered over 105,000 questions. In the 4 days before Thanksgiving, top students were recognized for answering over 500 questions. This month, students are participating in a Jingle All the Way challenge for answering questions correctly on grade level, and in only one day, they have students that have answered over 200 questions correctly. And as a building, they have had already 14,000 questions in a single day. Their yearbook club hosted Backwards Day, and backwards hats, sweatshirts, and even pants were observed throughout the building. The yearbook club has also been attending classroom events and celebrations to take pictures with their new cameras purchased by the PTO to start their yearbook. This week, students are shopping at the Santa shop and are able to experience the magic of picking out gifts. It has been so fun to see the excitement in their eyes when they find the perfect gift that they just know a loved one needs. On Saturday, they will host their annual Donuts with Santa in the gym from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. The holiday spirit is abound throughout the halls of Greenwood already, and they have a lot of fun things planned for the upcoming month. Ardmore recently held their monthly assembly, and they recognized 137 students with perfect attendance for the month of November. That's a big increase from the 94 students celebrated in October. It's exciting to see so many students coming to school every day ready to learn. They also honored their Husky of the Month students for showing last month's trait of empathy. These students really stood out for being caring, supportive, and aware of the feelings of others. For December, Ardmore's new focus is effort, and teachers are talking with students about what it means to work hard, stick with challenges, and take pride in progress. Last week, Ardmore students also enjoyed an exciting Mad Science Fire and Ice assembly. Students experienced science demonstrations that highlighted heat, cold, air pressure, and chemical reactions in a fun and interactive way. In the spirit of the season, Ardmore families and staff have been helping to support Ardmore families who could use a little extra assistance during the holidays. They want to thank everyone who's contributed. It makes a meaningful difference and reflects the kindness of our community. Looking ahead, Ardmore will host its holiday vendor night next Friday. Ardmore families will be able to shop from local vendors, enjoy festive activities, and support the local school. During November, Harmon scholars completed in the Don't Be a Turkey IXL Academic Challenge. All scholars completed over 139,000 questions, and the overall winner came from Mrs. Holmes' third grade class. He answered over 3,000 questions. As the first place winner, he received a $50 Amazon gift card for winning the challenge. Their school counselor, Mrs. Gaynor, worked with our local St. Clair Shores Kiwanis group as our Harmon families donated dry and canned goods to needy families for the Thanksgiving holiday. A big thank you for Miss Gaynor for spearheading this community event. During December, Harmon is working on their Growing the Grinch's Heart project. This project captures scholars at home doing good deeds, such as complimenting someone, making your bed before school, or cleaning up after yourself at home. The hearts are filled out and colored and added to our Grinch board to grow his heart. Harmon PTO is sponsoring their Santa shop all next week, and on Friday, they are capping off the week with a holiday festival dance, including a hot cocoa bar, visits with Santa, a DJ, and a photo booth. Harmon wishes our St. Clair Shores and Lakeview communities a wonderful holiday season and Happy New Year. Quarter 2 is underway at JMS. They welcomed all of their students back yesterday, and the JMS staff and administration hope that everyone had a great Thanksgiving with family and friends over break. JMS Patriots with Pride, led by Tracy Huey, collected donations to support 16 JMS families with their Thanksgiving meals. The JMS Counseling Department is collecting donations to sponsor a number of JMS families with their Christmas and holidays this year. Today, 4 Jefferson Middle School students had the chance to present their work to officials in Lansing at the Student Technology Showcase. The students this year are 8th graders Remy Frasemuth, Selena Robinson, and Mason Reimel, and 7th grader Noah Moore. They are all a part of teacher Robert Schneider's Coding and Scratch programming class. C&G News wrote an article about the event. Their quarter 1 perfect attendance students were able to participate in an open gym during advisory before the break, and they are excited to celebrate their quarter students in early February. The JMS NJHS has partnered with St. Clair Shores Goodfellas again this school year to collect canned food and non-perishable items for the local community. JMS hopes that everyone has a wonderful December and holiday season. LHS staff and students hope all had a great Thanksgiving break. The MTSS Committee, Multi-Tiered Support Systems, met right before break identifying the most at-risk students and how we can support them better through our academic learning coaches. New criteria, check-in, check-out procedures, and identification procedures will enhance the way we support all students both academically and socially at LHS. The PBIS committee will begin their Husky shoutouts this week. Various students are recognized for their academic and attendance improvements. Capping the last initiative off, attendance never tasted so sweet, with hot chocolate, most improved attendance, by class ending December 5th. In the lead, Oster, Hansen, Rector, and Cooper. The unified basketball team has their first game this Thursday at Warren Woods Tower. The game starts at 4:00 p.m. The JMS and LHS Orchestra will conduct a holiday concert on December 11th at 6:30 p.m. The LHS Band and Choir will conduct their holiday concert on December 17th at 7 p.m., both in Schaublin Auditorium. The winter testing session for NWEA will be January 7th, 8th, and 9th. Lakeview would like to extend a huge thank you to Huskies with Heart for their work in preparing and delivering the Thanksgiving baskets. The staff and students at LHS want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Awesome. Once again, lots going on, especially with the holidays, a lot of good things going on with the community, which is always great. Anybody have any questions for our student rep this evening?
I
Great.
just want to go to one of these hot chocolate bars. Sounds so good.
All right. Anything else? All right. Thank you, Mr. Roth. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Teaching and learning presentation.
Every year at this time, we have decided that we're going to do an annual summary for the board and community about our teaching and learning programming. Some of that will be data, some of that will be programming changes and updates and improvements, and some of it will be some of the interventions we're doing on both behavior and academics to improve outcomes for students. So Dr. Woods, take it away.
All right, good evening. So just like last year, we're going to start with just a really quick state overview. You have all these slides in front of you, so I'm not going to go over every bullet point, but I do hope that you will have a chance to look them over. So this is our district ELA M-STEP averages, and this spans back to 2018-2019 and shows the year by year. As you can see, our ELA scores improved in every grade level last spring except for 8th grade. And our 3rd and 5th grade ELA scores showed significant growth, and we believe that these gains have a lot to do with the programming changes that we've been making, as well as some of our interventions. This is Math M-STEP. Overall, we had more 3rd through 8th grade students score proficient or advanced than we have since COVID, so that's a really good gain. And during the past year, which was the first year of their new math implementation at the middle school, grades 6, 7, and 8 all made really good gains. That's kind of unusual when you take a new curriculum and implement it, but we saw immediate gains from that group, and so since math has been an area that we've been trying to really focus on the last few years, especially in our upper grades, we're very encouraged by some of the growth we're seeing. Science and social studies M-STEP, you know, statewide, these scores don't look good, but it's still worth looking at. So if you look at our science, our 5th and 8th grade improved, and our 11th grade was kind of stagnant. Looking at science, we saw quite a bit of improvement as well. We know 11th grade, our 11th graders are much more focused on that SAT because that's the test that impacts them. So, you know, they don't always love taking that M-STEP as seriously. We haven't talked enough about the PSAT data at JMS, but the PSAT is a test they take in 8th grade. It's aligned to the SAT, and it's a predictor of how our students will do in a few years on that important SAT test. And in ELA, JMS had big gains last year and has continued to be above state and U.S. averages, so that's encouraging. Even more encouraging is when state and U.S. averages went down in math last year, we went up. Again, we've got good things going on in our math instruction, both at the elementary, as those kids are now coming up into the middle school, and we're seeing immediate benefits from our new math program at JMS. Overall SAT district achievement summary, so that first set of purple is the EBRW, that's the evidence-based reading and writing. Middle is math, and then on the far right is overall SAT. So you can see we've been pretty consistent in our EBRW scores the last several years. Our math had been trending down and went back up this year, which we're encouraged by that. And our overall SAT score increased from the year before. Digging into that a little bit more, this is the overall composite score, how we kind of rank up against the rest of the county. So Lakeview's SAT scores continue to be in about the upper third of the county and above both state and county averages. So this is when you take that math and that EBRW composite score. EBRW, we have continued to do very, very well. Again, top third of the county, well above state and MISD averages. We know math. We've continued to not do as well on math as we do in EBRW. But again, we have a lot of things in place, and we're seeing a lot of improvements in our elementary and middle school math, and we have some things that we're building on at the high school. So we are hopeful and confident that we're going to start to see those go up as well. We're still top half of the county, but just not where we want to be yet. So this year I'm including the Michigan School Index reports. These just came out in the last couple of weeks. Just to give you a quick background, these were developed to meet the federal ESSA, Every Student Succeed Act's requirement of 2015, and they're meant to identify schools who need support based on performance in these 7 components. And for each component, every school and every student subgroup gets a score of 0 to 100. So very quickly, those 7 components are weighted in different ways based on growth, proficiency, all of those things listed there. That school quality and student success indicator has then subcomponents within that. Again, you can look that over later. But we're sharing this data because our district school index reports were fantastic this year, straight across the board. So here's just kind of the overall summary of how our schools did, and then I can kind of dig into that a little bit. So that first one, the growth index score, each year the state sets a goal based on how much growth they want to see on any given school to get them to their target. We are very proud that all 4 of our elementaries got 100% on that growth index score. We believe that is due to the work that has been done over the last several years, both in our classroom instruction, but also with all of our intervention programming for students who are struggling. JMS is also at a 91.62%. We are about 2 years into a complete overhaul of intervention programming at our middle school, and as we've mentioned, this is our 2nd year with our new math and ELA curriculum. LHS isn't quite where we want it yet, but we're also seeing improvements there, as you'll see from the rest of their scores. The next score is the proficiency index score. This looks at the overall proficiency of the students in the building, and I just want to mention that this looks only at student subgroups that have 30 students or more. So in a building like LHS, all of those subgroups of students with disabilities, students who are English language learners, those scores are going to figure in because we have larger populations at the high school and middle school for that matter. And likewise, Harmon and Princeton, who have much heavier populations of students with pretty severe disabilities due to our more restrictive programming there, we have more students with those learning needs whose scores are figuring in. So that's why you kind of see a discrepancy between the 2 elementaries that do not have our Resource 2 and Resource 3 programming. That next one, the School Quality and Student Success Index, we are really proud of this one. That's that one that has those 5 kind of indicators. And when you dig deep into this at the elementary level especially, because we aren't looking at like advanced coursework or AP classes, I think a third of the score came from attendance. So you will notice Harmon has our absolute highest score in this category, which we were super excited about. And it's because Harmon jumped on the attendance intervention train immediately. We have a task force that's been meeting now. This is our 3rd year district-wide, trying to deal with the attendance issues we've seen since COVID. And Harmon implemented their program last year and just did great things to get kids to school. And all of our other buildings this year are implementing in addition to that. But we attribute a lot of their 97.46 in this area to just the great work they're doing just to get kids in the building so that all the other great things we're doing can benefit them. The last one I wanted to show you is just that change. All 6 of our buildings increased, several of them quite a bit. So this shows us that while obviously there are still areas that we are laser sharp focused on improving, we definitely feel like the work we're doing is moving us in the right direction. And I just think this really speaks to the leadership in all of our buildings, as well as how hard all of our teachers and staff are working to give every kid what they need.
And I think there's just that aspect of the high schools with larger numbers of subgroups. When you look at the countywide comparison of those index scores at the high school level, you see high schools very similar to what the SAT score looked like in terms of a bar graph. So when the high schools are all compared to each other, they're all in the 60s
Yeah.
and less, because the subgroups are the place where you lose points, I guess, and because the big schools, especially the bigger schools,
Yeah.
a school like Armada, who might have good scores, has no subgroups. So their whole score is on their proficiency and growth, no subgroup comparables, because they're too small to meet this requirement for this index score. And Michigan chose to make that 30 number as a part of our setup, and that's not true in every state. So you can't go to each state and sort of say, how do these states compare with the ESSA program they've created? Because each state created their own.
Correct.
So I wanted to point that out because it's those lower scores for high schools and big middle schools are traditional because they have those larger number of subgroups. Not just a subgroup, but multiple subgroups that meet the 30 standard of student head count.
Is there anything that can be done internally to carve those out, just to have more of an apples-to-apples kind of thing for all buildings without the subgroups?
So when we look at some of our building level data, we definitely look at how some of those groups, I keep going back to, Princeton and Harmon have our Resource 2 and Resource 3 programs. So those are our students who need the most support. And when we are looking at data, we look at data at the district level, both holistically, and we include everyone because we are looking to improve programming for all students. But we also, when we're doing comparisons building to building, sometimes we'll pull some of those out just because those aren't always, if you have all of I think of our Resource 3 students are all at Harmon. So if we have all of our neediest little babies, little kindergarten, first grade kids over at Harmon, that's going to skew our kindergarten numbers there, even though there's some really great work going on in those 2 Harmon classrooms. So again, we care about improving outcomes for everybody, but we do look at the data through different lenses to make sure that we're making decisions appropriately.
Now, looking at some of these slides that you had, there seems to be, in many cases, glaring differences pre-COVID, post-COVID, and we're still climbing our way back to get to the
We are.
pre-COVID level.
Yeah, and that's several of the things we've talked about. One of the biggest issues since COVID has definitely been attendance. That's why we've put so much time and effort into building up attendance interventions through our task force, because it doesn't matter what kind of great work is going on in our buildings if kids aren't here to get it. And so we've definitely been looking at that. But we've also seen a whole lot of learning gaps. And we get kids from other districts who have come who have been learning at home for 2-3 years, which means virtually no instruction. So that's part of why we built in so many additional academic and social and emotional interventions in the past few years to make sure that we're getting back to where we should be and continuing to build from there. We're seeing the data turn in that direction, so we're feeling good.
And that pattern, Mr. Dabrowski, is true countrywide.
Yeah,
It's
definitely
not a
not
unique thing to
problem.
even Michigan, it's countrywide.
Okay.
For sure, especially that absenteeism and then the learning loss. All right, so our local data overview, just a few things we like to zoom in on. So this is our grades 3 through 11 reading NWEA from fall to spring last year. We had 63rd percentile average for reading in the fall and got up to 64th, and we continued with our growth to be above average. And so that's about where we've been. If you look deeper at our language arts, I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Diamond Report, but basically the Diamond is how much growth is expected or projected based on NWEA norms between fall and spring. And we were above that in almost every grade level for ELA. Again, where we've been really focusing, in addition to good, strong reading instruction, trying to bring our math scores, particularly at the upper grades, up. We're seeing some good growth with math, 61st to 64th last year. Again, this is grades 3 through 11 with 57th percentile for growth. But if you dig a bit deeper, you can see that our math growth exceeded NWEA projections in every grade level last year, which is good because we're trying to close gaps and we're trying to get beyond just what's projected.
And I like to say on this report, I like to call this the diamond crushers, when we look at an individual teacher's outcome at this same, with this same report, and you see these kind of diamonds that are halfway in the bar graph, because our score is that much higher than the diamond, which is the target. I like to call them diamond crushers.
Yeah. And if you look at, again, where we're seeing the biggest growth, it's grades 3 through 8, where we have implemented new math programming and really invested a lot in our math instruction. And in a little bit, I'll kind of explain how that's moving up to the high school as well. So we like to always include some early childhood data because we have an amazing preschool and we have great work going on there. Of course, their data looks a little different. So we do the Brigant Screener, which looks at our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds' language, physical, and cognitive development, and we screen them in the fall and in the winter, or I'm sorry, fall and spring to look for growth. So if you look at our fall, those tiers up in the corner, it kind of shows you your target is you want about 80% of your kids to be at tier 1, 15% typically would be tier 2, and about 5% would be tier 3. And that's assuming that you've got great programming that's really doing what it's supposed to do. So if you compare where we started in the fall to where our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds ended last spring, we managed to increase that tier 1, reduce our tier 2 and tier 3, which means that our kids are really growing and making the progress that we need them to, not just in academics, but also in that physical growth and that language growth as well. Likewise, this is important to look at. So we use that same assessment tool, which gives us like a developmental age for every student. We use that as our kindergarten and young fives kind of entrance testing to give us some information about all of our kids as they start elementary school. If you look on the left, those are the students who spent time in our preschool where they entered young fives and kindergarten. Versus the kids on the outside who did not attend our programming. Either they went to preschool somewhere else or they didn't have any preschool at all. So we just really think this speaks to the fact that we have really good things going on that is helping to get kids ready for success in young fives and kindergarten. And that's a big part of why we're expanding our programming. Is that what you were going to say, Carl? Yeah.
We're not fools. We know that the chance to have that opportunity for families, and we are full. So opening this building up further for more early childhood opportunities is a big priority for us as a district, and I think the board has supported that over the last couple of years. So,
absolutely. All right, just a couple more things. We've been doing a lot of work with the social, emotional, behavioral side of everything we do. We know that if these things aren't being well supported in our schools, then our academics can't be as successful as we need them to be. So based on multiple data sources, this is where we're at right now with students receiving social, emotional, and behavioral interventions, K-5, in our elementary schools. So we're in really good shape in terms of those numbers, and we didn't include Young Fives on purpose because Young Fives is basically a full-year intervention program for kids. So it's a smaller class size. These are children who are either very young or who weren't quite ready for kindergarten. So we don't put them on behavior tiers because everything we do in those classes is giving them extra to get them ready for success in kindergarten. And then finally, this is our SABRS data for our 6th through 10th graders. That's our social, academic, and emotional behavior risk screener. It's a 20-question survey that our students do to give us information, not just about individual kids who we might need to be offering some additional support to in these areas, but also it gives us big picture data to make programming decisions about what types of mental health supports and behavioral supports we might need in our middle and high school grades. So really quickly, I want to revisit the threat assessment data because we shared some last year. This is our 3rd year implementing a very formalized threat assessment process. So as of right now, today, we're at 73 threat assessments so far over 67 days, averaging about 1.1 per day, which is down from last year. So we're definitely seeing a reduction, and I think a lot of that has to do with really good teaching we're doing in our buildings, making sure kids know that you just can't use language like that. It's not funny. It's not a joke. That's not how you respond when you're mad. And then there's some information about the makeup of the different incidents there.
Question?
Sure.
For the benefit of our viewing audience.
Yeah.
The threat assessment, what defines a threat
Great
in
question.
this context?
Yeah, so we look at any type of threat that is brought to us, whether it's by a student, by a parent. Sometimes they come into us through okay to say. So it's, if there's a reason to believe that a student has made a threat about wanting to hurt themselves or wanting to hurt someone else. And we have a whole team, we're up to 30 people in the district who has been trained on the threat assessment process. It's a very tight process. We have a very formalized response when those things come to us on how we interview the kids. And we didn't make all this up. We worked very closely with the county, with some of the Secret Service resources that were provided to us through the county. And so for most of these cases, and that's kind of coming up, it's just a screener where we are able to evaluate pretty quickly. It was a first grader, he got mad at a friend playing kickball and shouted, "I hate you," right? But we take every one of those seriously, and we go through at least the screening process with those. But when there are reasons to believe that we need to dig deeper, we have a full threat assessment process that we go through as well. That, you know, at that point, we get our resource officer involved. We have a team approach. We always have trained people involved, both administrators and mental health workers. We've also gone to every building and trained just all of our staff so that they know how to respond if a student or a parent brings a threat to them. You know, don't email a counselor and hope she sees it, right? Like, get that student to us so we can respond immediately. And we've done a really good job, I think, at the building level of making sure that we're taking these things seriously and following through with mental health resources and all the things that would need to follow.
So this would also, under the category, address bullying incidents that are brought forward. Can't do anything with things you don't know about.
Bullying that specifically has to do with threatening people's safety, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we really stick to threatening safety, and this is not a discipline process. Now, a lot of times, especially these older students who make these big threats, there's discipline that might come with that. But the purpose of this process is literally just analyzing safety and making sure that we're following the right next steps, notifying the right people, responding appropriately every time, very consistently. So you can see here, you know, most of our incidents so far this year are early childhood and elementary kids, kids who don't know better. Sometimes it's our special education students who aren't quite able to regulate yet when they have big feelings. So we definitely do see decreasing numbers as we get up in the grades. You can see kind of the proportion of threats to self, kids who are worried are going to hurt themselves versus threats to others. So far, we've done 73 screeners. Only one this year has had to go to a full threat assessment, and even that one was deemed transient. When it is a threat to self, we then have a whole procedure of how we follow up with the family, sometimes usually providing outside resources, because at that point, we're talking about students who have expressed that they might be at risk of hurting themselves. So we have a whole protocol to make sure that we address those things properly as well. Okay, so district data response, there's a lot of text on here, so I'll just highlight a couple things. We're in our second year of our ELA Bookworms curriculum pilot this year, and right now we have almost, or just over half of our elementary teachers who are piloting, and we're seeing great results. It's much more science of reading based than what we were using previously. It is much more rigorous, and we're seeing improvements in reading and writing right down to our kindergarten children who are very emergent in their literacy. We are in our third year with Number Corner in math and our second full year of Bridges, and again, we're already seeing really good gains. At both JMS and LHS, we have added department heads to our organizational structure, and so they are really helping us to get into some curriculum alignment work, common assessments, really trying to tighten up and get more common grading practices so that we are more consistent in what we do for kids. JMS is also in their second year of curriculum implementation for both their new ELA and their math curriculum, and we're continuing to have PD. They're spending a lot of time digging into the data on how kids are doing with that, and we are definitely proud of the work they've done, because implementing 2 new curriculums at one time has been a heavy lift, particularly for some of our special education teachers who are supporting kids all over the building, and they've done a great job. So at the high school level, one thing we have set as a goal is our ELA team at the high school is saying, we need updated training on reading instruction. What does that look like at the high school level? Most of us who are trained as high school English teachers were not taught how to teach kids to read. We were taught how to teach kids to analyze books, right? So we're really looking at making sure that we have updated training. Our math department is long overdue for new curricular resources, so we are looking at those, looking to pilot some units this spring, and we're hoping that we'll be bringing a proposal to you for implementation next year. Again, we're really focusing in on our high school math because we know that achievement needs to be better. Those teachers are working really hard over there, and so we want to make sure that we're working hard on the right things with the right resources. In terms of what types of supports we have, a lot of these are not new, so I'll just kind of highlight a couple. We added another reading interventionist and another math specialist at the elementary level. We realized that since Princeton is the size of 2 elementary buildings, they probably needed more support this year. So we were able to add 2 additional staff members to make sure every student with significant gaps was getting the support they need. We also were able to pull from 2 separate Michigan grants to add 2 new reading interventions so that kids are getting the right intervention for the gaps that we're seeing. At the middle school level, this is their second year implementing their academic support class to make sure that we have interventionists helping small groups of kids to get grade level learning and support. They're also piloting the same IXL digital resource that we're using at the elementary. We are piloting that with our MTSS students in these tiered courses so that it's one more level of personalized learning. And then they are in their second year of full implementation of our new Tier 3 reading and math courses, where again, we're targeting kids with those foundational skills that you're not going to be successful in 8th grade math when you're still learning 3rd grade skills. So they take these in addition to their core classes. It's both gen ed and special ed kids who end up in those courses. At the high school level, we are just starting to really roll out MTSS. So we are piloting a semester 2 tutorial course, similar to what we've been offering at the middle school, where our interventionists are going to be with small groups of kids to make sure that we're supporting their grade level learning. We have created updated criteria and data processes and have a whole team structure we've built over there. They've got an amazing team at the high school working on this to make sure that kids aren't falling through the cracks, that kids who might not be on track for graduation are getting the intervention they need early and often. This is our first year implementing our Read 180 course at the high school for students with significant reading gaps, and we are looking to pilot something similar for math. We have an old math lab course that we're looking to really kind of beef up again so that we're not letting kids slip through the cracks or leave us with significant academic holes. I swear we're almost done. So for our social emotional behavioral supports, district-wide, there's a lot of great stuff going on. Every teacher and staff member has been fully trained in restorative practices, and we're seeing that implemented from the preschool all the way up through the high school. We have implemented updated PBIS in every single building, preschool through high school, and I'm going to brag on our high school team. High school PBIS is not the same kind of situation as what you think about when you think about PBIS in an elementary school. That team has been amazing coming up with ways to motivate high schoolers to get to class on time, to really be caught being positive, to really take care of each other. We're seeing great work over there. We're using data to make sure that, again, we're identifying kids who need support, but also areas in our system where we need to beef up programming. And then we're continuing to look at other ways through behavior de-escalation and some things. Just zooming in a little bit at our preschool and early elementary, we've really been focusing on trauma-informed teaching. Unfortunately, we're seeing lots more kids coming to us with trauma, and we need to know how to respond in a supportive way. This is also our 3rd year of full second step SEL implementation in all of our preschool through 5th grade classes, and we are seeing the benefits of that. At JMS, we have now rolled it up to 7th grade, so we have second step in 6th and 7th. 8th grade will add next year, but this year they're doing restorative practices every week during advisory in 8th grade. We're doing mindfulness. We have the Be Nice program. So we're really trying to create a comprehensive whole child support system for every student in Lakeview across all of the levels. So these are just some of the interventions that we offer for kids who are struggling socially, emotionally, and behaviorally. And really at all 3 levels, it's zooming in on what is the student struggling with, What type of intervention do they need? A lot of times it's matching them with a caring adult who can be that connection for them through either silent mentoring or check-in, check-out. But we're continuing to refine and improve our processes of identifying who these students are, what types of needs they might have, and how we as a school can support them in these ways, not just so that they can succeed academically, but obviously because we want to take care of them in all the ways. And sometimes that means assisting their families with getting them outside resources, services, working with My Best. We have several students throughout the district who get My Best counseling during the school day. They bring it to us for families who can't get them there. So our counselors and social workers, mental health staff are working really hard to facilitate some of those things too, to remove barriers for families. So we've got each building here. I'll just go through a bullet or two at each one, but please read them over because there are so many good things going on in these buildings. At Ardmore, their M-STEP math and reading proficiency both went up dramatically last year. They had their strongest growth at Ardmore in the 3rd grade. That next one's also really exciting. 77% of students who received some of these interventions we've been talking about moved up a tier or was exited from intervention altogether because it had worked and they didn't need it anymore. That's what we want. Greenwood, also, they looked at their NWEA increases. They had huge increases in both reading and math last year. They're also really excited this year because their 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade teachers are all involved in that bookworms pilot. So that building has a lot of teachers who are piloting really high-quality materials. They've been working on attendance. They've been improving their PBIS. Harmon has seen tons of growth in just 1 year. We've got Mr. Weigel and Mr. Coopers in that building who are both just data guys by nature, and they're doing a great job really focusing that staff on how to move kids. In addition to some of their great gains in their academic data, they decreased suspensions last year by 83 days. That's huge. That means that they're doing other things to support behaviors that are working, that are keeping kids in the building. We talked a little bit earlier about their attendance initiative. Their attendance heroes, here every day, ready and on time. And because of that, they decreased their absences by 685 days, equaling 4,795 hours of additional learning. I love that you included that, Mr. Weigel. And over the course of the year, 93% of their students at one point or another got to be celebrated as an attendance hero. So that's how we're getting kids to school, and that's how kids are going to continue to improve because they're here. They've got lots of stuff going on as well with their PBIS. Here's Princeton. They've also seen scores high above national norms on NWEA reading and math several times over the past 2 years. 34% of their students who received math support last year don't need it this year. All those gaps are filled and those kids are successful. 18% of the students who received Tier 3 reading intervention either moved out of that most intensive tier or made significant growth last year. They have also been able to decrease their minor behavior referrals by 41% from 23-24 to 24-25, and that's because of those second step lessons, the PBIS efforts. So, we're not just doing great work in the classroom with academics, we're doing great work to support these kids in a million ways, and these teachers and our principals are working really, really hard. Jefferson, I want to highlight again, we're just so excited about what we're seeing with the math because we've been working on that so much. So if you look at that second bullet, between fall of last year and spring of last year, their 6th grade math improvements for NWEA are very, very unusually strong. Again, especially for 3 grade levels that we're implementing a brand new program. Typically you see an implementation dip as our teachers and students are getting used to the new format, and this is a different format. But we saw immediate gains, much higher engagement. It's connecting really well and building off of the Bridges math curriculum at the elementary level, so we are very excited about the early success. They've continued to have their discipline referrals decrease every year since the 21-22 school year, but even more impressively, they had fewer office referrals last year, the lowest number they've seen since they began tracking them in 13-14. So there's a lot of great work going on to support behavior. I know a lot of times by the time you guys hear about behavior, it's the bad stuff, right, when it comes to you, but there's so much work being done positively to improve behaviors, and Jefferson has been really good about zeroing in on that data. Finally, for the high school, from spring of '24 to '25, like we mentioned earlier, the SAT composite increased 23 points. Like we talked about, they've implemented PBIS with monthly Husky shout-outs, those attendance quarterly incentives. They are building out an MTSS process where we're going to have very targeted interventions at Tier 2 and Tier 3 for math, ELA, those social emotional supports, and again, just focusing on kids who are at risk of not graduating on time and making sure we're getting them identified and supported. We're really excited and proud of their new LHS Unified Basketball Program through Special Olympics. That was very much staff-driven, and we're excited to see where that goes. And there's just a lot of really good work being done at the department level to continue to improve what we're doing for kids and to make sure that we are very consistently delivering our core instruction. And then last but not least are our early childhood kids. All three of our programs, they run three separate programs. They have their tuition preschool, the GSRP programming, and then our early childhood special education. So even though they're three different programs, they've been working hard to have those universal curriculum elements with consistent standards because, again, all of those children are being prepared to go into our elementary schools, right? So with that, they're using data to improve their instruction, to make sure that they're getting proper staff PD, and to make sure that they are doing a better job of connecting the alignment between when the kids leave them and when they go to our Young 5 and kindergarten programs throughout Lakeview. So that's it. Any questions?
Sure is a lot of data to go through. Thank you for the presentation.
Yes.
Looking at it for the first time, it seems like there's a lot more wood to chop to get us where we need to be. But, thank you for bringing this out and calling on what needs to be done.
Yeah.
We look forward to some great results moving forward.
Yes.
It's going to take a lot of attention and support from the staff, which is awesome, and hopefully there are good results on the back end of all this.
Yep. Thank you.
I mean, I think it's good to think about it in a big picture. You sort of live through the big picture view of it. You get a curriculum proposal to adopt. You get people on the personnel agenda to hire. We have, the effort of licensing and software, and so it's people, it's the curriculum materials, it's the other supports that are all built together in this holistic way. And Laura's done a nice job helping organize that and helping our principals understand how to be better organized with it. So it's a team effort, and as you say, right down to that classroom and those individuals, parapros and teachers and interventionists working side by side to make it happen. And it's very important now how structured it is. You've seen me with pictures of being in classrooms visiting new staff, and it's not uncommon for you to see the teacher finishes with some sort of whole group thing and kids go to stations, and all of a sudden, two interventionists appear. And they work at two tables with two different groups of kids, and they rotate through their tables. And the teacher's got a group here, independent work here with a computer maybe, and then two different staff members working with small groups for 20 minutes or a half an hour, and they shift through, and then those two disappear, and they're off to another room. Organizing how that sits together and makes it work so their time, we don't want to miss a minute. They got to walk one room to another, but they know what their task is when they arrive at that table in that classroom. And that's the most fascinating part to see when then I'll leave that room and I'll see them go from one door to another door, like in the same morning. So it's great to see how well that's been orchestrated, and I give a lot of credit to Laura for some of that effort.
Yeah, and it gets down to what you've been talking about for years is data. Data
Yes.
speaks volumes. And without the data, you can't come up with assessments like this to find out where you need to make improvements or address shortcomings. So, thank
And you have to
very
find those right tools
much. Right,
Right.
and at the grade levels.
and the people to go with it.
We have a great team.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments, questions?
I just want to agree, there's so many pieces to the puzzle that I really appreciate that you've the commitment to the interventionists and the attendance program, because people might not know it's a whole countywide effort. Everyone's struggling with that.
Yeah.
You've got some great results in the PBIS from K-12, which, just being an educator myself, I'm writing notes, like, So I think it's really impressive, and, with the district our size, being competitive with other large schools. And, Mr. Paulson said they're right. People, like, you see Armada's scores, well, they do look great for a reason, not to take anything away from them, but they don't have the subgroups. And so, and when talking to you, or when you talked, Mr. Dombrowski, about how are we going to improve that? And I do understand that it's hard because we don't understand sometimes that some of those kids with special needs, they're taking the same tests as those kids that are in the advanced classes. So having all that additional support is what's going to move the needle. And I just think that you are, having been a parent of 5 who've gone through the district and decided to keep my kids here because I appreciated the smaller setting, but also the progress I was making. I mean, so I appreciate that. It's a lot. I can't read it all because the print's really small.
Sorry.
But it's okay. But I get it.
Yeah.
But I do understand. So I appreciate it. I think you're really going in the right direction. And the math doesn't matter where you are.
Everyone's struggling.
Everybody's afraid of math. So, I mean, when you're making some gains, that's great. So I appreciate the presentation and all the additional efforts that go into that really are part of the puzzle that makes, that allows for the progress that you're making. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I just like the creativeness that's going on at every level. I think that's fantastic. I think that when you have leaders that are putting those things out, other leaders see that. And
Yes.
Okay, well, what can I come up with, and what can I come up with? And you have this wonderful avalanche of good things just occurring. I mean, and you hear that when the student representative did her stuff as well. It's like, each school wants to be the best of the best, and it's just wonderful that we have so many amazing schools and so many amazing leaders. So I just kudos to
Thank
the
you.
leaders at each and every school, and what you've given us is wonderful. It's wonderful to know that I'm part of that curriculum committee, going through and looking at the things that you guys presented to us, and the time and the effort that was put into everything that has been presented over the years, and to see it implemented and success is just wonderful.
Thank you.
And it's nice that, we're seeing the data from top to bottom, pre-K all the way through high school. So it's
Yes.
all encompassing.
Yes. And I got to give some shout outs to our leadership team. To your point, it can be easy to feel that little competitiveness, but they are all so collaborative because we want every Lakeview kid to be successful. So even if the attendance incentive looks a little different from building to building, we want every kid to be here. And we meet monthly as a whole team. We meet monthly as an elementary and a secondary principal team. And the work that they are doing on top of all the other things you do when you're running a building day to day, to meet with teachers, to form these teams, to create a culture where teachers can come to them and say, hey, I want to try this crazy thing, and then suddenly we've got a team assembled. We've got some great leadership, and we have so many willing teachers and staff who are giving extra time to make all of this happen. So just like to shout out all the people doing the great work in the buildings.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? All right, moving on with the agenda, we go on to general. Item A, the first reading, board policy and administrative regulations updates.
This is the first reading of policy and administrative regs updates recommended by Lakeview's policy consultant, Miller Johnson Law. Proposed updates include changes in the following areas. Policy areas in the 4,000, 6,000, that includes personnel, facilities, and operations, and administrative regulations in the 3,000, 4,000, 6,000, and 8,000 areas, curriculum instruction, personnel, facilities, and operations, and general. There's no action at this time. There's additional language related to exempt contracts and outside employment procedures and curriculum and field trips, language on the facility safety dogs, and compliance with state police fingerprinting. Other minor language changes to update titles or positions are also included. Any other comments or suggestions from board members at this time can be taken into account for a second reading in January, where these would be considered for approval. Any questions or input from the board?
Any comments? None? Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item B, State School Aid Act 31AA Grant Funding Recommendation.
Tonight, administration brings forward a resolution for board consideration related to the State School Aid Act 31AA mental health and safety funding. Lakeview, along with a large number of other local districts and ISDs across the state, engaged in legal action against the state of Michigan on what plaintiff legal counsel believes are unconstitutional elements of language and requirements under the 31AA section of the State Aid Act. Specifically, to receive 31AA funding, districts would be required to waive legal protections and privileges in certain circumstances. Language that is poorly and vaguely written, outlining situations and circumstances that would initiate the waived protections and privileges of the district and our employees. While this court action and complaint is pending, an order from the Michigan Court of Claims has provided districts time and options as it relates to this funding, which the state of Michigan has agreed to until the courts, federal and state level, have hearings on the constitutionality of the language. The attached resolution provides guidance to Lakeview's administrative team on how this timeline and decision-making should be handled during December 2025 while the court cases are pending. The resolution addresses the immediate need to opt in to 31AA to allow an opportunity for the funding, but also allows a later opt-out of the funding if the court cases are unsuccessful. The resolution directs administration to utilize the state systems and direction from council to accommodate these unusual timing circumstances before and after the courts issue their decisions on the constitutionality of the 31AA language. Our administration recommends the board adopt the resolution as presented.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education adopt the resolution directing administration on the opt-in and opt-out options as determined before and after the court decisions are rendered later in December 2025, as
Support.
presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. What I like about this is that we do have our ins and we have our outs here based on timelines, and it seems that December 19th is the trigger date for a lot of this.
That's what the date the court has said they will make their decision by, so that the districts can choose the next few days to, make their opt-out letter or rescission.
So this will not require a board action then following this, because it's all contained in here on the
Correct.
action.
Otherwise, you might have to call a special meeting in December 23rd or something, and we don't really want to have you do that.
No,
Or neither do we, honestly.
no, but thank you for providing this. Any other comments?
I just want to say that I appreciate all the work and our involvement in this effort to try to right a wrong.
Just another hot mess. Any other comments?
Just
Hearing,
agree with both of you. Yeah.
The legislature did something unusual and the governor signed it, which we don't like, so that's the bottom line.
fair enough, and this is statewide, getting a lot of attention, so.
16 ISDs in about 30 districts now. Another 120 districts are jumping on an amicus brief organized by Troon Law. Another organization has got another 50 or 75 districts jumping on another amicus brief.
Thank goodness.
Superintendent's Association is writing an amicus brief. The School Boards Association is writing an amicus brief because, this turnaround was days to file these complaints. So every district couldn't get their, board to understand it and administrators or whatever. But once it was sort of in motion and another week went by, all these other districts are like, well, we want to get in on that. So these cases are for every district across Michigan, not just the complainants or the plaintiff.
Could this be deemed as one of those that they tried to sneak in?
Well, when it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you don't know what you're signing and voting for, maybe that's true. And that's how the budget got passed back in the, whatever it was, October 7th or whatever that was. Past their deadline, constitutional deadline, too.
Way past.
Pass it now, read it later.
Any other comments?
It happens more often than not that things come up and, it just takes a creative mind to see that it's unconstitutional and argue it. And hopefully the heads of the court will see that the argument is correct and the Constitution will prevail.
We hope.
We shall see. Cool. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Personnel, item A, changes in personnel.
Tonight, administration is bringing forward the following changes in personnel since the last presentation to the Board of Education on November 11th. New hire Alyssa Lasky, Wheat Preschool Co-op. Madison Libstaff, Wheat Preschool Co-op. Erica McQueen, Princeton Elementary Special Ed Assistant. Resignations, Geminique Haley Barnes, Jefferson Middle School Special Education Assistant. Eric Lynn, Lakeview Public Schools Executive Director of Business and Food Services. Schedule B, returning coach and sponsors as listed.
Mr. President, I would like to recommend that the Lakeview Board of Education approve the changes in personnel as presented.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Martin, support by Ms. Stanton. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Have we any of the new hires this evening?
No, not this evening.
I remembered.
You did remember. Good job.
All right, item B, tentative agreement for MEA, NEA, LESPA contract 2023 through 2026, 25-26 wage opener.
The previously approved Lakeview Education Support Personnel Association 23-26 master agreement included a wage opener clause for the 25-26 school year. This evening, administration is bringing forward a recommendation regarding the LESPA wage opener to the 2023-26 master agreement. The negotiating teams met 4 times since October 21st, and I am pleased to report to the Board of Education that the negotiating team has reached a tentative agreement with LESPA. The agreement recognizes the district's need to provide a competitive compensation package to attract and retain quality employees. The tentative agreement includes the following highlights as listed, with the duration being for the current school year, the financials being a 4% on schedule increase, steps retroactive to the commencement of the start of the school year. The salary schedule addition will be suspended for the 25-26, and GSRP additional work stipends for lead teacher and associate teacher. For 25-26 and beyond would be a new base salary schedule, increases to longevity amounts, increases to life insurance and AD&D, and new language regarding liability insurance. Administration appreciates the professionalism displayed by LESPA team and recommends approval of this wage opener tentative agreement with the language and changes as presented. We're also happy to answer any questions that the board may have regarding the TA.
Mr. President, I recommend that the Lakeview Board of Education approve the tentative wage opener agreement with changes as listed for the Lakeview Educational Support Personnel Association, MEA, NEA, LESPA.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Martin, support by Ms. Stanton. Discussion on the motion. I do have a question. The assumption was this was a wage opener, and in my eyes, it seems like there's a lot more than just wages included in here.
So a wage opener is anything that has with the financials. So it is not just the base hourly schedule. It could be anything that has to do with financials.
Fair enough. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving down to other, item A, request for closed session to discuss superintendent's evaluation.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve going into closed session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's evaluation.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Mr. Asher to go into closed session. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Asha?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Miskelly? Yes. Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Stanton, yes. Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Yeses have it. All right, for the record, it is 8:41. We will be going into recess, a brief recess, a 5-minute recess. We'll reconvene here in closed session. It is likely that we will have action following the closed session, so we will be going offline here for those that are watching through the internet. And if you want to see whatever action is going to be taken, you'll need to be on site here when we go back into open session. I do not know how long this is going to take. We are in recess, 8:41. We will reconvene in 5 minutes. And again, before we go, here's hoping everybody has a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. Take care. Thanks.